שלנו, דוקטור וולפגנג קולני, שהוא מרצה גם באוניברסיטה בוויינה. הוא היה מאמן נבחרת בחריין, מאמן נבחרת הנשים של איטליה, הרבה מאוד בתחום האקדמי, היה אחראי על כל הקורסים, גם באוסטה כל הקורסים, גם בוועדה המתודית של ה-IHF, של ה-EHF, אז אני לא צריך להרחיב יותר. We speak that it's important to be on time.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
I give you another 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. My pleasure being here in Israel. Thank you for having me. The first thing that I want to say is you go to some place and you plan, and then something happens and you have to alter the program, and it's exactly what happens now, because Ruben showed you this thing about the culture, and there is another thing that I would like to present to you shortly. It's called the micro handball. To explain it, it was back in 2009, something around that time, when I was in the MC of the EHF. A Danish group of guys came out with the idea of street handball, and they played the street handball in teams of 4 a side. Now, from team handball, from street handball, there's some further developments have grown up. One of them is culture, because culture is played 3 a side, and my idea was a thing that I called micro handball. Micro handball is played 4 a side, as you had in the end here, and with a more or less regular goal area. Because the old idea of the Danish guys, because in Denmark handball is very well known. Everybody knows about handball. It's played in schools. It's the #1 sport actually in schools. And so they were just looking for a free time play that everybody could play without counting the score and without having a defined goal area and things like that. Now the point is that after some time, when we wanted to implement that in Central Europe and in Eastern Europe and in Austria as well, then the biggest problem is that all the kids, you know, they want to score. They want to know how the score is. They want to know who's a winner or not, no matter about the level. So I did some alternations on that. We have a 4 meters semicircle. No, sorry, skip that. We have a 4 meters goal area. That means you take just a rope of 4 meters, piece of chalk, and you go from one goal post to the other, and then you have a straight line. It's very much like a micro goal area, which is regular. The goal is, as it is usual in a mini handball goal, which means 160 to 2.40. And the idea is that you play 4 a side, 1 goalkeeper, 3 court players. And the offense team always will have man advantage because they play 4 and 3. So with every turnover, no matter if it's score or if it's a rule infringement, if it's side out, it's loss of the ball, the teams switch. That means the defense team will go for the offense team will go for defense, and one of them has to be in the goal. The point is that the new offense team is only allowed to shoot at the goal, or let's say it will only count after the ball had crossed a so-called starting line before. Now this starting line usually is around 10 meters from the goal line. That's all. The ball has to cross starting line and then they can start. Of course they can play if they want even without that, but if they score, it will not count. So that's the basic idea about that. This is micro handball. And the score in micro handball is taken from beach handball. Regular shot, 1 point. Fancy shot, in-flight combination, whatsoever. Pirouettes, all count 2 points. We're counting on points. And every rule infringement that obstructs a goal chance in the shooting, or if it's clinging, or if there are 2 players in the goal area, immediately 2 points for the offense. No penalty shots, no punishment, nothing. It's just 2 points for the offense. That's all. We play on sets. A set runs up to 11 points. And we play best of 3, or maybe best of 5. It's your choice. So that's a very brief introduction to micro handball. Yeah, as I already said, it's just an additional thing that I wanted to tell you later on. It's now just because of the moment. Later on, maybe I will tell you, and I will provide you with a handout about the further development of micro handball, because you can play this on 2 goals, and then I call it midi handball. Now in midi handball, there are 2 additional rules. One rule is the so-called center line rule. That means the score is only valid if the full team has crossed the center line. And if you can do this fast enough that the opponents still have 1 defense player on the wrong side of the pitch, then counts double. This is one rule. The second rule is the so-called rotation rule. That means the offense player who touched the ball last, and no matter if the player scored or had steps or had a wide shot, doesn't matter. This player has to run very fast and be the goalkeeper when the other team starts the offense. And the same applies here. If there's the wrong goalkeeper, 2 points immediately, and all the other small rules from the micro handball. Now this kind of game is very fast, it's great fun, and of course it's not a game for the beginners. This is only to tell you that you can play this with any kind of team. I played it with the Danish junior national team, and the biggest problem was to tell them that the presentation is over. They didn't want to stop, because we added additional things, like you have to play the ball with 1 hand only, not the second one. And there's one thing I forgot. Like in Golcha, we use a very specific kind of ball. It's from an Italian company. It's called the SH1, and this is a non-bouncing ball. So that means you cannot dribble. You are forced to play as a team. And with that, this ball is very soft, and then you can have them playing with the right hand only, with the left hand only, with both hands all the time. So you can always bring additional rules to that. And this, of course, topples the fun that they have in playing this game. Are there any questions on that? No? So there's only 2 options. I've been very clear, or I was totally catastrophic and chaotic. So because that's the only there could be only a reason for that. Okay. So we take a fast switch and get to the program as it was planned originally. The first thing that I have to tell you is I will not make very much use of the computer here. I will work with the flip chart in the first place, and I will tell you a lot of things. So the point is, it would be good if you take some notes, because I will talk a lot. And the handouts that I have prepared, they are only the, how to say, the bones of the skeleton. And all the other things you have to create by yourself. As I always used to tell my students, there is no transfer of knowledge. Knowledge grows in the student. The only thing that we can do as presenters, as teachers, as educators is a transfer of information. And from that information, the knowledge is your creation. It's not my work. I can't do anything about that. I can just provide you with information. And that is the most important thing, that you all have to respect when you work with people. This is one thing. The second thing is, don't underrate the importance of the mirror-neuron system. Whenever you are in front of people, you are an educator. No matter what you are there as a coach, as a teacher, as a lecturer, whatsoever. In some respect, you will always be an educator. So you have to carefully watch your behavior, your personal behavior and your appearance, because according to the mirror-neuron system, they will copy you in one way or the other. So this is a very small but very important thing that I always used to start presentations with that. And that means you can't escape from that. You will always be a role model for the good or for the bad. It's your choice and your appearance. So this was the first things that I wanted to tell you. Now, when we talk, and I was asked to talk about the defense, and what I want to present to you is the old Austrian handball school, which was created in '86. The point is that in this year, in '86, in Austria, we had reached the phase of, let's call, Stone Age of handball, of indoors handball. The point is that in Austria, we still played the 11-a-side outdoors up to '76. So we lost a lot of development in the indoors handball, and we just got stuck. And then in '86, I was asked or forced, or yeah, well, you can put it as you like it, to take over the coaches' education. And so I would like to present to you the philosophy, in the first place the defense philosophy, that made it possible that within a very few years, from '86 to '89, we managed to get in touch to the European top level of handball. We were not in the top level, but at least we got in touch. And it was the basic for the success of Austrian handball, male handball and female handball in the 80s, in the late 80s and early 90s of last century. So let's move to that thing here. I will try to bring it a little bit further, if it's possible. Defense. We can have I know it's a little small, so I will go step by step. Man to man. Personally, although as a player, I was a specialist in man to man, of course, because of my huge size, so I had to do this. I'm objecting to man, and I will give you the reason why. Man to man develops the ability, physical abilities, and the ability to react on moves, on motions, and to run fast, to get close to a direct opponent, and to work with that. But that's all. This is man to man. Set play in defense is a totally different thing. Totally different. That's the reason why it's not the same. Set play requires special footwork, which is not necessary in man to man. You just run and follow and cover your opponent. A special kind of body work, which is not necessary as well in man to man. The stupid thing is that when they play man to man in Austria now, I'm not talking about Austria too much now because I don't like it. They play man to man in the under 11, under 12, full court for 25 minutes with full goal size, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's counterproductive to everything that we want to create in handball players. But it's a philosophy now. I don't like it, but it's my personal point. And the thing is that they don't learn how to do a good footwork, a good body work. So what they will do, in order to prevent an opponent from escaping from you, they will cling. And you might be able to imagine what that means for 25 minutes, full court, man to man. It's ridiculous. It's nothing to do with handball. But let's leave that aside. And the most important thing is cooperation. In man to man, there's not much cooperation. You just have your opponent and you cover that opponent. So, nice. Man to man, of course, might be a basic for covering, for running, for physical abilities. And in the sports hall, we're going to do kind of basic drills for man to man. And we will play frisbee, because frisbee is a brilliant tool. Frisbee Ultimate, on small side, on big side. It's a brilliant tool for man to man. But as soon as possible, you have to switch from frisbee to the handball game, which is a totally different thing. So, to know how to do the cooperation and to know when to cover a player and when to switch, which is the important factor of a set defense, this you have to learn. That means the longer you play man to man, the more difficult it will be to switch over to set play, to set defense. And so, man to man is very good as a basics, and you can do it every now and then. For warming up, you can play Frisbee Ultimate, of course. Nice, brilliant. But it has to be clear that it's a completely different philosophy. And I will give you the reason why. If you play man to man, you are 6 players in defense, and you play on 6 players in offense, right? But there is one more element. And this one is the most dangerous element, because this is the only element you can score with. That's the ball. So that means if you play man-to-man strictly, you will always be short-handed because you have in total 7 elements that you have to face. And that's the big problem. If you play a good set defense, nice set defense, you play with 6 players and you play against the ball. You know, the basic for this philosophy, that you play against the ball with all 6 players and you don't care very much, of course you care in some respect about the opponent players, but the most important thing is the ball, because that's the only element that you can score, or the opponent can score. And this is the point, in fact. This is the most important thing that you have to respect. As long as we are able to prevent the ball from entering the goal, we are playing good defense. And that's the main philosophy, the main idea, let's say, in all the big, in all the great ways of playing defense. No matter if it was the old Yugoslav 3-2-1, the French 5-1, the Swedish 6-0, it's all the same. They, in the first place, are playing the ball, and then they play the opponent players. And this is very important, and this is the basic thing. And if you play man-to-man too long, then you always have this problem in the heads and in the minds of your players, because they will focus the direct opponent. Oh, and the ball's there. Oh, how it comes. So, and there's little cooperation. I hate being forced to say we have a very stupid rule in the under 10 in Austria. They have to play man-to-man strictly, and they are disallowed to support a teammate. So if a player runs off, you are not allowed to switch and cover the player with the ball. You have to stay with it. Now come on. This is the most stupid thing that you can do in handball in general. Okay? And I had an argument with one of those stupid guys. He said, you're not playing man-to-man. I said, no. My kids, they're playing handball. And they are educated to play handball. And not this funny game, I don't know how it's called. But it has nothing to do with handball at all. So please be aware. A rule like that is absolutely disastrous for the development of handball players. Okay, so what are we doing? If from man-to-man, we want to go to a set play defense. So my idea at that time, and still is we play a 1-5 defense. Now 1-5 defense means the following. This is 1-5 defense. And you can see what we have here, that the players, the back center, this player, will play man-to-man with the line player. strictly man-to-man. These players, they will move from 7 meters to 9 meters. They all have a direct opponent. When this direct opponent is with the ball, they have to approach. Not to fight, not to cling, they just have, in the first place, they just have to approach. And the basic idea is that they should meet their direct opponent at 9 meters approximately. And there they have to decide. If this guy has the ball up and tries to shoot, okay, then they tackle. If this guy takes the ball down, the most important step, the most important part of footwork in defense is a very fast step back. Because if this player takes the ball down, he's not going to shoot. He's trying to do some kind of one-on-one. So you have to find the proper distance for the one-on-one. And if the guy dribbles, then you can go and steal the ball. So, first thing, to learn proper defense, we will talk about the footwork anyway, modern footwork, not this funny thing like handicapped kangaroos, you know. It was what I always said, no kangaroos in Austria. It's a different part of the world. No kangaroos in Austria, we don't hop around here. We will just turn and just go. Turn and move in the natural way. There's no reason to hop around. We're not in a circus. So, and the second important thing is, as soon as you're there, and the guy takes the ball down, you go back very fast. 1 step, half a step. That is, well, it's a matter of the situation. And when you watch the French team now, in the last championships, you could see every player of them against Slovenia. This team, in the match between France and Slovenia, it was very clear that Slovenia will not stand a chance against France. Because they are very fast, they are very good in one-on-one, but the French team, they will start their defense on 9 meters, and as soon as the guy comes, they will not go for any further. They will go back and close the ball. And that's it. And it's pretty difficult to play one-on-one then. So, these are the 2 important things. So, what does it mean? When the ball is here, we are there, man to man. The others remain on 7 meters. Now, the outside defenders. Although it is called 1-5, the outside defenders in the basic, style, they will not play on 9 meters or further out, but they will stay on 6 meters. Why? Have you an idea why they stand there at 6 meters only? Not so much the wing, but to limit the space for the pivot. Because if they are out there, then this guy has to be substituted after 10 or 15 minutes with a pivot running to and fro. He will not make it any further. But this is the basics, you know. And this is the basic idea. We play a set defense, but everybody of the players has his direct opponent still. So the basic idea of man-to-man still remains, but we managed to do the transition to a set defense. And that's the point. Now in the set defense, of course, you have 2 more very important basic things. That means to cover and to switch positions. So what does it mean? If an opponent like here and like this one, when they start switching positions, and we have the two defense players. They will go a short way and then go back to their regular positions. If there's a switch in front of the defense, then we'll switch players. If the situation occurs like that, we have a player here. Again, it's the third one, and this one. This one moved out for the player with the ball. And now this player runs in here. In this situation, we cannot switch. It's not possible to switch players. You have, because you cannot switch. Thank you. You cannot switch. You cannot switch the player with the ball. Because in the very moment when this player who covered here goes back, his player has the chance for an open shot, for sure. So you never switch the player with the ball. When you're out of the defense formation and you are with the ball carrier, you have to follow. You have to follow as long as you are at the same level, and then you can switch. Okay? So this is the very important thing about the 1-5 defense and all kind of set defenses. We have to know when to cover and when to switch. So this is 1-5. Now, what does it mean in the further development from the 1-5 formation to develop other formations? You will find out that when you play a 1-5, like here, and the ball is here, as it is here, and the line player runs, and this player is following, then after some time, the front center will get very uncomfortable. All these players, and again, and so he will move out 1 or 2 steps more forward. Not on 7 meters, but on 8 meters, let's say. So that means automatically, without talking too much, without talking too much, you will come to this thing that I have here, a kind of a flat 3-2-1. We will still have the man coverage. These players go out, and this one is more out. So this is one of the benefits of a 1-5 defense. Almost automatically, you can start with a flat 3-2-1. You have to talk a little bit about the different tasks in a 3-2-1 because they are a little different from 1-5, but it's only small things. You already formed the basics of a flat 3-2-1. And then you can tell, okay, if the ball is on that side, he has to go further back, he has to tackle, he remains in position, and then we develop a 3-2-1. Very fast from a 1-5 defense. And that, as a matter of fact, was the huge success that we had, as I said, in the late 80s. We did not play Yugoslav 3-2-1. We played an adapted style of it. So that was our biggest advantage at that time. Then, of course, from here, very easily, you can go further on with the traditional 3-2-1, which is called the libero style, which means that, traditional style, libero style means that The back center will always be with the ball. So if the ball's here, the back center will cover ball side. That means that, of course, the players on position 2, they will have additional tasks. And also the outside defenders. In some teams, they will get very offensively. In some teams, they will go down here and be an additional mark for the line player. You can play it this way or that way. But again, it's really, you can say it's a piece of cake to develop that from 1-5 to the flat 3-2-1 to this one with the libero. And from that on, we're not talking about this now because that's for tomorrow, traps that you form. Because you have to understand that 1-5 can be played as the so-called wall defense. But, and this is one thing that I will show tomorrow, from this 1-5 you can develop a trap defense. Trap defense means that you're not forming a wall against the ball, but you offer the offense some spots where they are supposed either to shoot or to try a breakthrough, or you give them a chance, you tackle, and then the others, they close. So all the passing lanes are blocked, and then the approaching player will fall back. And now all the chances are open for an unprepared shot. So that's kind of trap defense. That means the defense tries to do fakes, to mislead the offense team. And there we have this next step I would like to talk about. It's a thing that I call playability. Playability means a combination, the ability of playing handball. Because in the first place, handball is a game. So you have to educate the ability to play. And unfortunately, this ability to play has almost vanished in these days. There's a lot of reasons for that. It will take us too far to talk about that. But when you look at the German Bundesliga now in the moment, there's only a few players who play handball. Most of them are working handball, fighting handball, but playing, there's only a few ones. Like, for instance, Jurek Knorr. Jurek Knorr is playing. Or the Scandinavians, they are playing. All the ex-Yugoslavians, especially, I have to give them this point, Slovenia. They always create playmakers. They are very good at that. So that's the point. And the more players you have in a team, the more likely you will be successful with that. But that takes time. And unfortunately, in today's top handball, you don't have the time. I was talking to Ruben just this day and said, the transfer system that we have in handball today is completely counterproductive to all basics of sports science, of coaching science, of all these things. What about periodicity? When you don't know if you will have the squad that you have now in 5 months. What about periodicity? You start with a preparation period, and then the first part, and then the second part, and so on, so on. And then after 6 months, you lose half of the team. So what? And you get a couple of new players, and you don't know how to put them. I mean, the most chaotic team in the world, maybe today, is in football, Chelsea. In the last half a year, every 2 or 3 months they bought a new player, and the coach, they had to put, any coach, they had to let them play because this player was very expensive. We don't buy a 100 million player to have them sit in the bench or even on the stands. So this guy has to play, but the guy has no connection with the team. And as soon as you have too many players like that, your team breaks. But, okay, this is just an exaggeration. So this is a thing that you have to think about. To create playability in players, it takes time and patience. And we turn back to the start. The only thing you can do with them is you can transfer information. And that's it. You cannot give them the knowledge. You just can give them information. And you can show them what you want them to do. So this is how we talk about open defenses from 1-5. And of course a 4-2. A 4-2, to develop a 4-2 from 1-5, it's here we have a 5-1, for instance, an open 5-1. The same applies here. It's pretty easy. You just tell these two guys not to wait on 7 meters, but they have to go back to 6.5. And then you have a 5-1. Flat 5-1, or, according to what you tell your point defender, a deep 5-1. You even can play 5-1 Red Indian, Yugoslav invention. Yeah? Or you can play French 5-1. You can play 5+1. Or you can play 4-2 or 4+2. It's all the same. Because in that case you send from 1-5, you send the point to one player, and you have the other one very offensively. You can play a 4-1+1. So from a 1-5 defense, that's how to say, that's the best start to develop all different kinds of set defense. I'm waiting, because in this moment somebody should say, okay, and what about 6-0? How to develop 6-0? Huh? This is funny, you know. To create I have to spare something. There we play a thing, or we start playing a thing that I used to call fake 6-0. We have all the players here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. And now I designate one player, this one. Whenever there's an approach with the ball to the center, this player or that player, this player will tackle. And this player will cover. And if the ball moves over to that side, like here, these two players will switch positions. That means this player will go here, and this player will go there. Do you get it? So the center back will always remain the central defender, and the other, number 3, will always be a little bit more offensive. One step. So if you just look at it, it will look like a 6-0, you know? But from the task they have, basically, it's a very, very flat 5-1. And if you, after that, you can educate this player to do the same like he did, or any player, then they can switch. And then you'll be on the way to a 6-0, and even a Scandinavian 6-0, the Swedish 6-0, with the two central defenders approaching. And the next step is you educate these players from 1-5. They are already used to approach. With a snap of your fingers, you will have Spanish 6-0 with 4 players moving forward and going back. You see that? So that means I wanted you to understand the reason for my personal philosophy, why I think that this 1-5 set defense should be the basic set defense for kids, for youth players. Because from that starting point, you can develop every kind of set defense that you would like to. So this was the first thing, theoretical approach, you can call it. And remember, this is only information transfer. The knowledge you have to work on by yourself. Thank you very much.
אנחנו עולים למגרש, אני מבקש לא להכניס שתייה למגרש.